Welcome to Fundraising is Funny. I'm Lynn Wester.
And I'm Clay Buck.
Join us to share in laughter and stories as we take a lighthearted look at the profession that we love so much, fundraising.
Because sometimes we just have to laugh at ourselves.
Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. Take a moment, take a listen. Hey, this could even be called self-care.
Bring your favorite beverage and a yummy snack.
In reality, we're here to deliver on our promise. We're going to make you laugh or cringe. And if you learn something too, bonus.
See, we're serious fundraisers. We believe in this work, but we also know we do some really ridiculous things all in the name of raising a dollar. Maybe if we laugh at and with them and at ourselves, we can bring a little joy to everybody in our sector.
Now, don't worry. In that pursuit of joy, we won't name names, but the stories we share are 100% real life in the world of nonprofit fundraising.
Because, come on, fundraising is funny.
It's just the two of us here, Clay and the mighty casita of Recording Haven. And we're here to say hello.
Hi.
Or hiya.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all. Hey, you guys.
Oh, no, can't say you guys. You got to, no, not very inclusive, dear.
Exactly. And y'all, I thank you, is gender neutral and inclusive. Thank you very much.
Other than biscuits, one of the things South got right. Says two Southerners here. So we love you. We mean it. And if not, bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
Hey, Clay, I got some mail the other day.
I know how you love mail. Like in the mailbox mail.
In the mailbox mail.
Yes.
And I got it and it said, "Dear Mr. Wester."
Was it to your dad? Are you at home? You were at home with your parents?
Nope. It was to "Dear Mr. Lynn Wester."
K.
K is a word in Spanish that means what?
So this
Lynn. I mean, they had the E right. They got Lynn with the E.
Well, that's the other thing with you, like misspelling your name is a thing, right?
My mom had extra money and bought a vowel.
So you got "Dear Mr. Wester" addressed to you,
"Dear Lynn Wester," and then at the start of the letter, it said "Dear Mr. Lynn Wester." It didn't even say "Dear Mr. Lynn" or "Dear Mr. Wester." It said "Dear Mr. Lynn Wester."
Mr. Lynn Wester. So whoever it was thought you were a Mister.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
good.
I'm not insulted. Perhaps I would have more money, more power. I don't know.
Wow.
Money, power, and respect. Like, DMX. I don't know. But I sure as heck was misgendered on their envelope and a preceding letter.
See, we get this at my house all the time. Like all the time.
People don't know that your husband, Mike, is a Mike?
Well, because his name is Michael A. Right.
So is it Michaela?
And they change it to Michaela. So Mr. and Mrs.
Michaela.
Right. So it'll be White. Clay and Michaela White or Mrs. Michaela White.
Do they misgender the dogs too?
Probably. For all I know. But like Michael A. Listen, like somebody had to intentionally. That's not an oops.
No,
right?
You got to mush those two
Somebody
columns
looked
together.
At that and went, well, no, boys can't live together.
Well, can't or shouldn't.
Well, that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah. I mean, so it's really interesting to me also that, say you and I were domiciled together.
Householded
together.
Yes.
What if they just automatically assumed I was Mrs. Buck?
Right. Exactly. Precisely.
I don't want to be Mrs. Buck except for when things are done by alphabetical order.
Right.
Then I will gladly give up Wester.
Well, and how many people don't take surnames and change names and
I want to take Sir Mix-a-Lot. Before this, we were just listening to "It Takes Two" by DJ Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. Yeah. And let me tell you, I'm a rapping fool. So I've got some.
Someday we will have to do an outtake episode.
I've got some lyrical skills.
It was epic.
I cannot carry a tune in a bucket, but I can rap. You want me?
Epic.
It's Salt and Pepper, Rob Bass, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Tone Loc. I'm there for you. 90s rap.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But
Little Kim.
Yeah.
Or Lil Kim. Not Little Kim. Lil Kim.
Lil Kim.
Does she get misgendered, do you think?
Do you think she gets letters to Mr. Kim? or Mr. Lil?
Mr. Lil.
Mr. Lil.
You know, it's really interesting because did you read the recent study from the Lilly School of Philanthropy and Bank of America? And it says that women now make 85% of the giving decisions in the household, either solo or it takes two or three or four, whatever.
Yeah. No, I did read that. And
so why must I be a man? Not that there's anything wrong with being a man.
Hashtag the patriarchy.
Right. Like, why must I be Mr. Lynn Wester? Why can't I? And why does Mr., Miss, Ms. even exist? It's 2020, whatever.
Well, okay. All right. Yeah. So, yes.
It's not the Gilded Age on HBO.
More importantly, well, no. Okay. Yes. Why is that the default? And I get it, for generations that was the formal approach, etc. Right.
Right.
I understand.
And you don't know me, so you want to call me by a formality or something like
and
that.
That was true.
But you're going to mess it up.
But here's the thing. It's 2023 and
or 4 or 5
or 5 or 8. Because this podcast has longevity. Right.
Why?
We have options.
We have options.
And choices. And our technology supports it.
You know what you can't get wrong?
What?
Just calling me Lynn with an E.
With an E.
Yeah, now I don't want you to write on the envelope Lynn with an E.
I'm so.
I know people have done that to me before.
That now.
Yeah, smart. Sarcasts have done that before. Now. Okay. Yeah. T Clay.
Well, what? I mean,
Chiclay. I'm just going to call you Chiclay now.
Chiclay, right? The T is silent.
Chiclay. It's just Clay.
The T is silent.
But so why do we not recognize the purse power, the wallet power, the money clip power of women in today's philanthropy? And it's been around for a while. Previous to this, like 3 or 4 years ago, it was 76%. It just keeps going up as women. You know, I've seen universities. I've seen nonprofits where if the gentleman of the family, the male, the person who identifies as male, leaves a planned gift, when he passes away, they stop their relationship with the family.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
As if the money didn't go to the woman or the family or anything else.
Right. Sure. And hundreds of examples in in a major gift relationship, right? Where
as opposed to a minor gift relationship, yes.
With a major gift, a minor gift.
Tomato.
Hallelujah. Major fault, the minor live. Yeah, got it. Okay. And, the special event versus the event, again, vocabulary always.
Why is recognizing women important?
Well, okay.
Or people who identify as female, or why are we stuck on Mr. and Mrs.?
We have to even ask the question.
Well,
is alarming.
Okay.
Isn't it?
But we're not really good at modernity.
Why do we feel the need to default? Because
formal equals respect.
Formal equals respect. Okay. And also this is the way we have always done it. But we tend to default to the male. And I'm not kidding when I'm not kidding when I say the patriarchy. It is
exactly that.
It is exactly that.
But do you know that women started charitable giving? Like if you go back, yes, it was the barons of the time that, the JP Morgans and the, you know what I mean? All of that, the Vanderbilts and all that. But the woman was the one doing the charity work. The woman was the one volunteering while the man, you know what I mean? So it's interesting that women have been, kind of, made into a minor role. I need that word. Minimize. That's it.
Yes.
Made into minuscule figures in this. And the other thing I can't stand about the whole salutations, greeting, gendering me is that my marital status is absolutely none of anybody's business. And so the other problem with you, Mr. Missing, Mrs. mixing me is that it's none of your business if I'm married or divorced. And yet you feel entitled to know that information because you want to know my salutation on your giving form even. Like in order to make a gift, I have to first identify what my title is.
Why do I have to tell you any of this?
I shouldn't have to.
Right.
I shouldn't have to. It's so interesting. And I always like it when on the giving form, they have lots of options. Like they haven't truncated the validation table. So they have things like Your Royal Highness or Rabbi or, Lord or Colonel.
She who must be obeyed.
The Empress of the Night.
The Divine Miss Lynn.
Yes. And so I start checking stupid things just to prove a point. Like I am your Lord and Honorable Wester, like if you're going to play into the farcity that is unearned titles, especially,
Sure.
right? Then I'm going to play along with it.
I want donors to have the choice. I want them to be, I want them to, if somebody's making a gift, if somebody is giving of themselves, then they get to call the shots on how they address them, because the data and information that a donor provides, we just talk about storytelling so much. We never talk about story listening.
Oh, well,
right?
So speaking of listening, did you hear that grumble?
I did.
It's Matumble.
It's Matumble.
I have a grumble in Matumble. You know what that means?
It means it's snack time. I'm thinking Mr. Goodbar.
Oh, no. I'm thinking Baby Ruth.
Mrs. Fields cookies?
No. I'm thinking whatchamacallit? You're welcome, folks. We'll be right back.
So,
hold on. I have to dig the whatchamacallit out of my teeth.
Snack
delicious.
Delicious.
Amazing. Phenomenal. But
I really did spend the break trying to think of other snacks that are gendered names, and I'm sure there are plenty of them.
Well, unfortunately, there were some that were named after African-American slave cooks, right? We had whole brands that
there's a whole
cultural appropriation there.
We need to get rid of.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot we need to get rid of. And then there's a whole lot that we just don't.
But can we talk about the power of women in generosity as well?
Because I have read that report, because that report from the Lilly School of Philanthropy, because that is so pervasive and it's something that I am familiar with, I forget that it is not out there.
Well, I forget that some people don't think about this or aren't talking about this in their shops. When I hear oftentimes, he's the head of the household. And I'm like, have you asked him or her or them who the head of the household is? Because if you called my parents, lovely William and Norma, or Bill and Norms, don't ever call her Norms.
Never call her Norms.
No, her mother and father would be the formal greeting there at that household. If you called and asked for the head of the household, the phone would be immediately handed to my mother. Actually, she's the one that answers it. Let's be real. He answers the door just in case there's a serial killer, but she answers the phone.
Wow.
Right? Like, he's going first. I mean, he's been married 63 years. Of course he is.
Yeah.
Right? And he will tell you that the secret to his happiness is what? Her happiness.
I love your parents.
I know. It's disgusting, isn't it? It's so amazing.
But it is. But this idea of a head of household, or that there is a single decision maker, or that somehow in our data processes and systems, or our recognition systems, or how we react to donors, that we have to create something or define something. I will never forget. I was tasked with putting together, I want to say it was an invitation list, whatever. And so, in inviting, VIPs or major donors or whatever. And I was brand new on the job, and they're like, just call and ask if we don't know. Right. Which was, of course, a very valuable lesson. And I called one household.
But how do you say, hi, may I speak to?
Well, I literally said, hi, this is Clay. I'm trying to reach Jack Spratt. This is Jack. Right. And I said, I'm so sorry. We don't have it recorded, and we should. How exactly you and your spouse wish to be listed or addressed? And I'm working on an invitation. And it's this. And quite honestly, we've tried to correct that a few times, and it hasn't.
Thanks for asking.
Right. But that was my point earlier about story listening. The data that donors provide us, volunteers, anybody that engages, that is a story they are telling us. Right.
It's so interesting because this carries over to how we behave in person with people. How, we can talk about the power of the purse and the female, those that identify as, I want to be careful not to, just reduce it down to power of the purse. But we have, there are lots of people that have been overlooked historically in philanthropic worlds, right? In the world of generosity. And so I think it's important, though, to focus on the influence and power that women have in the sector, but also that they desire to be recognized differently by and large.
Here's a shocking thing. You want to hear something shocking?
Well, depends. Like electric eel shocking, cattle fence shocking, taser shocking.
Like, it's going to surprise you. Like, oh my gosh, what's happening in the world today?
I love a surprise. Tell me more.
Do you know that women today can be medical doctors, MDs? They can also get PhDs and be doctors.
That's Dr. Wester to you.
There you go. Right. See,
tell me
I mean,
no
how
lies.
many stories have we heard? You've heard this. I've heard it. I've heard it 100,000 times.
The old limerick or the old riddle about the person that dies in the car accident or the person that gets injured in the car accident and the surgeon.
I know the one that you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
The mother.
I knew the one you're talking about.
Yes.
We might have to put that in show notes or link to
we will
that
put that riddle in the show notes. It's a good one.
Somewhere else. Right. But, the assumption that a doctor is, a male, that it's always Dr. and Mrs.
Right.
When,
I always like it when it's Dr. and Mr. He.
Dr. and Mr.'s great.
Right. But and
let's be honest, there are also women that say
they prefer to be Mrs. William Wester.
Right. Good.
Great. Then we'll note that because we're listening to you.
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah,
We're listening
to you and you're an individual human being.
Right.
I think also, though, women like to be recognized differently. So very rarely do women and those who are underrepresented use rankings, namings, things like that. I think if you were to look at a large organization and let's say a hospital, very rarely are there buildings and wings and things named for women by themselves using money. There are honorifics a lot, you know what I mean? But very rarely do women put their own name on things. They will probably do what I did, which is like the Wester Family Scholarship.
I can think of, off the top of my head, a couple of very prominent examples. But what I know of them is more the family did it after their passing. So it was it's an honor after.
But very rarely does a woman say, and I want the building named for me. Right. So at my alma mater, the University of South Carolina, our business school is named for Darla Moore. And it's one of the only business schools in the country named for a woman by herself from her philanthropy. Right. So women and men, and again, I'm sorry for speaking on the binary here, but I want to be clear of the research that we've done. And the research is usually binary. And that is women and men prefer to be recognized differently. Men give comparatively and competitively. So if you're in an all boys school in New England, rank your donors, give them a list, let them fight over who's first, right? They'll compete. Or maybe if you're at a law school where they do rankings, or medical schools that does have multiple genders, right? But if you're trying to attract women, they're going to care less about how much someone else gives as long as they give. That's why you see giving circles, giving groups, collective. They give collectively and collaboratively.
But it's why we're also seeing this growth, an exponential growth in giving circles, giving societies, and many of them. I can't speak to a data point, so I don't have the data point in front of, but many of them are women-led, women-driven, communities of women coming together, knowing they can increase the impact of their philanthropy. By working together, right? And collectively saying we can do more together than we can on our own.
Underrepresented communities also do that, like the 100 Black Men. Right?
We started out with some good 80s, 90s rap. We need a little Beyonce behind us now.
Do we?
Don't we?
I don't know.
Don't we always?
I mean, well, she's Sasha Fierce as well.
Who's going to run the world?
Girls. Right. And, but does somebody misgender Beyonce? I wonder. I mean, do they misspell it? I mean, we know that Oprah has been misspelled for years and years and years.
Sure.
Right?
Do you know, side note, do you know that Oprah is actually a misspelling?
Oh, yes.
I love that story.
Aware. And do you know Harpo?
Yes. That I know.
But do you know, so in that nobody says, I'm going to ask Stedman for money.
It's power, isn't it?
It's
is power. And position. Yeah.
Oh.
Which means that our default is to the male as power, as head, as lead. That's Well, and look what's interesting. Look what's happening with Mackenzie Scott. So for a long time, when she first was divorced, all of the media articles referred to as what? Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. Right. Until
she started forming her own identity, which she had before then.
Sure.
And there's a wonder, so now she's Mackenzie Scott and they don't mention, she's also Jeff Bezos.
Right.
Because I think this year she's given away like $2 billion alone.
Exactly.
I do remember a funny story that's not so funny that came from the Twitterverse before it turned into the Xverse. So, Stephen King, right?
Yeah.
The author, Misery, The Shining, Carrie, all those horror stories, right?
I don't know.
So he's a famous author.
Okay, yeah.
His wife, Tabitha,
yes,
also very, very famous and very wealthy, both of them.
Yes.
And a few years ago, she made a $1.7 million gift, I think it was, to an organization. Mm-hmm. And in their press release, they quoted it as Stephen King's wife.
Yeah.
Gives gift. And he on Twitter and she on Twitter.
Yeah.
Before it was ever X. Were enraged.
Yeah.
And he was like, it wasn't my wife. Tabitha gave this gift. I have no relationship with the charity. I have nothing to do with it. It's my wife. And it needs to be properly accredited to her. And the giving in this family goes through her. And how dare you?
Yeah.
And she's got more money than him as well.
Yeah.
So power, femininity, just so many different dynamics. It's so interesting to me.
So
what's the punchline, Clay?
I was going to ask you that.
Ha! Beat you to it because I'm a girl. Today. Right. The only time I don't like being a girl is clothes sizing because men have it easier. You just pick the number and the numbers are real. Ours are all fake. Other than that.
I'm going to say this as a cis male in this conversation. And I mean it directly and honestly. Men need to take a step back right now. We need to stop. We need to listen, learn. I know I do, right? I'm trying. I'm learning. I fail a lot.
But failure's good because it means you're trying, Clay. And so what I think the punchline for me is, number one, why do you have to gender people? Why do you have to include Mr., Mrs., MX? Even MX, that just others me sometimes, right?
Sure.
Why can't you just call me by my name and not worry about what gender I choose to be that day? And my marital status is also none of your business.
Can I ask a question though?
Okay.
For our colleagues that are listening today that are going, this is great. And hopefully they're laughing. We got a little serious here.
Ooh, sorry about that. We'll work on that.
But they're going, look, I hear you. I agree with you.
But my boss doesn't.
But exactly. Our brand guidelines.
Well, we have a worksheet that is part of our DE&I series that I will share in the show notes that makes the case for why you should no longer use unearned titles and salutations.
Sure.
So number one, we're going to provide you with a resource.
Great.
Number two, I want you to go through maybe your top 50 donors at your organization and take off their formal salutations and greetings and show your leadership how many of them and take off their last names and say, now gender this person, male or female.
Yeah.
Because what happens when Gwyneth Paltrow's kid named Apple comes up and I have to figure out?
I would also add, ask,
listen.
Right? The power of the donor survey right now is incredible.
Don't assume.
People want to know. So if you're working for some leadership that is, no, we use Mr. and Mrs.
That's the formal salutation.
See if you can get them to work to, let's at least ask them what they want to be called and honor what they wish to be called, right? And then give donors the option, because I cannot think of a CRM, and I'm pretty familiar with most of them, that doesn't allow for customized salutations.
They all do.
Right? It's 2020 something. We can do this now.
We can do it. And because it's the right thing to do.
It is.
And you will experience gratitude. And we have gratitude for you all. We also have grace to know that I probably said something today because we're talking about gender that probably hurt somebody or maybe unintentionally went in the wrong direction. It wasn't our intent, but you know what? We're having the conversation.
In a musical mood.
And I think, no, don't you do it. Don't you get in that musical mood.
No, I want to sit back here and be humming Amazing Grace.
And as a white cisgendered female of privilege, I also need to be given grace because I'm here to speak out for those who sometimes feel voiceless or feel not heard, like Clay's Amazing Grace.
Yeah, don't let me say
Right. So thank you all. If you have, we'd love to hear your journey through greetings, salutations, through women in philanthropy, what your thoughts are. Hit us up at fundraisingisfunny.com. I got that hit us up from a rap song, don't you know? Because yeah. And so we'd love to hear from you. And thank you again, as always, for listening and laughing.